There's a new ABC Washington Post poll. Joe Biden is getting a lot of attention these days.
The other team is not the enemy. If you treat it as the enemy, there is no way we can ever resolve the problems we have to, and you end up with the dysfunction that we're experiencing here in Washington.
That is Vice President Joe Biden. Is he or isn't he? There's a new ABC Washington Post poll that looks at all of these things. Lana Zanik, ABC News correspondent, good morning. Thanks for checking in.
It's wonderful talking to you. Yes, Joe Biden is having a great week, and he is certainly playing this cat and mouse game with the press and with Hillary Clinton about whether or not he's going to run. That clip that you just played, it may seem innocuous, but it could also be seen as a swipe against Hillary. She was saying recently, she joked that the greatest enemy she's ever taken on were the Republicans. So for him to come out and say the Republicans are not the enemy, it has to sound to a lot of people like he's talking to her.
Yeah. What does this new ABC News Washington Post poll ask?
Well, what it says is hot off the presses right now that Republican voters think that Donald Trump not only we've heard all these polls that he's been leading. Now it's not only that he's leading in their preferences among candidates, but that 42% of Americans think that he is most likely to win the GOP nomination, and 43% of likely Republican voters say he has the best chance to win the general election, whether that is Hillary or Joe Biden that he's up against. They think that Donald Trump has a real chance to be president.
That must scare the pants off the Republican establishment. But aren't there large numbers of people who are polled say they'll never vote for Donald Trump?
He has the most extreme favorabilities and the most extreme unfavorabilities. There is still a lot. There are still several months before this election actually happens, and so many things can happen between then. However, a lot of pundits said that Donald Trump would be gone by now, and not only is he hanging on, he still leads the pack.
It's really some type of cultural phenomenon that no one has been able to sort of explain just yet. In the polls, if we are to believe the polls, the number of people who are leading in these polls have zero experience when it comes to politics.
That's exactly right. And that's, I think, part of the reason why we're also seeing on the House side that the Republican establishment is trying to get their ducks in a row. Paul Ryan finally agreeing last night that he would be willing to serve as the leader of House Republicans if several conditions are met. That's sort of the Republican establishment, as you mentioned, trying to coalesce, going to the other side of things and saying, who is somebody with experience, with a level head that Americans have heard of, know, and trust that can be the leader of the Republican Party, at least on the House side, to show that there is substance there.
What's the story that's brewing about Vice President Biden changing his story on the Osama bin Laden raid?
Well, it's a little bit, it can be seen as a flip-flop, or it can be seen by several as Biden just changing his story completely, or it can be seen as him splitting hairs. Here's what happened in all public recounting of that tale in the Situation Room back in 2011. Biden said, "Don't go, Mr. President. I don't think we should go in on the raid." Yesterday, he said that he told the president privately after that meeting with other advisors that he thought that they should actually undertake the raid, and that the president should follow his gut. So it's possible the White House refused to comment on whether or not that conversation took place as the vice president said it did, but it's possible that he did have this private conversation that was different from what he said in front of all the other advisors. But this can also be taken as another swipe against the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who in that room has been in the debates and in her stump speeches saying that she was one of the strong advisors who said absolutely we need to go in and get Osama bin Laden, and Biden yesterday was saying that wasn't exactly how that room played out and those conversations played out.
Lots of stuff to chew on there. Lana Zack, the ABC News correspondent at the White House. Lana, thanks for checking in.
So good talking to you, McGraw.
625 here, Big 550 KTRS. Time to organize your